Well, hey, AP Bio, this is Mr. Harkler coming at you with processes of evolution. Thanks for watching this video. Sorry that I've been out lately. Family's been struggling a little bit. But full disclaimer, not a YouTuber, not even close. So this is not going to be full of special effects or multi-million-dollar endorsement deals. But nonetheless, I hope it will help you with starting out our last unit about natural selection and evolution. So as you can see here, here's the objectives from AP Classroom. You can see that natural selection is a major mechanism of evolution. Evolution is one of the major themes in biology, if not the major theme. Of course, how it allows us to understand how life changes, how all life is connected, and various things. We had our biblical worldview the other day, of course, about God being the creator of all things and God being the creator of you. So we're going to dive into kind of like the nitty-gritty of evolution and natural selection, what you should know. Natural selection is a major mechanism. So competition, so again, everybody's competing, right? Life's hard. There's not resources for everybody. So some survive and some win and some don't. And so that results in differential survival. Remember, the goal in biology is survive and reproduce. If you don't do that, you fail. And so individuals with more favorable phenotypes are more likely to survive, pass those genes on, and thus pass those traits on to subsequent generations. And so evolutionary fitness is measured by reproductive success. Let me see if I can draw. I'm drawing with a mouse. By the way, I don't have one of those fancy tablets that YouTubers have, and so you'll have to excuse my handwriting, which you're all used to by now. So biotic and abiotic environments can be more or less stable, and this affects the rate and direction of evolution. So we'll see how evolution can like literally shift with certain traits down the road. And then also, let me exit the drawing. And then also, the last kind of objective for this natural selection is it acts on phenotypes, right? Yeah, life can't see genes. Predators and prey, they see phenotypes. And so environmental changes apply selective pressures, and then some variations are more likely to survive and reproduce. Okay, so you should be able to get ready for this chapter by doing the following. You can pause that and try to see if you can do all that. And then we talked about the study of biological evolution. It's many disciplines, mathematics, technology, lots of stuff like that. So we talked about this in class. I'll skip ahead just for time. But it's amazing how these insects, the adult resembles a dying moth, and literally the caterpillar looks like a snake about to strike, which of course is mimicry. And then the flu, definitely the flu changes from year to year. This is a picture of 1918 Spanish flu epidemic, one of the deadliest in history. Of course, COVID's up there now as well. Whether or not you believe in the numbers or not. But nonetheless, this is kind of the opening question for this chapter. How do biologists use evolutionary theory to develop better flu vaccines? And so we'll kind of dive into that a little bit more down the road. And so right now, I want you to pause and think, what do you know about the following? Evolution, that term, descent modification, and natural selection. Okay, so evolution is literally the change in genetic composition. It's a change of DNA. Now, we're not talking like goo to you or monkeys to man. We're talking that if a population changes enough genetically that evolution has happened. And then that leads to speciation, which you can see right here, different species of finch. The finches from the Galapagos archipelago that Darwin saw. You can see like large beak and small beak and the probing beak and all sorts of stuff like that. And so you can see here that those underlying genetic changes drives the origin, right, his book, and the extinction of species. Various things that we've been talking about. So now we will define evolution as descent with modification. So species accumulate differences from their ancestors, and evolution can also be defined as a change, which I also would like for you to think about, in the genetic composition of not one individual, but the key word here is population. Evolution happens in populations. It doesn't happen in individuals. It happens in populations. And so evolutionary theory, why is it important? Other than, like passing a test, which of course is our goal, which of course I want you all to be able to do. Why should we know this? And here's the main reasons. Number one, it helps us better study and treat diseases, sicknesses, new viruses, antibiotic-resistant bacteria. Without understanding how life changes, we won't be able to treat those diseases very well. Development of crops and industrial processes and making better products and pesticides, and even crops that grow in certain conditions through biotechnology. But then what if they change, and what if the environment changes? Life will change still. And then understand, of course, the diversification of life, how life is so different, and yet we do share common characteristics. Those are all very important applications of evolutionary theory. Remember, evolutionary theory is not just a theory. I've heard that argument many times from people. Theories are backed by a lot of evidence. So there's a lot of truth to what evolution has to say. Of course, not all of it is biblically based. But you can look at Answers in Genesis for a younger perspective, ICR possibly for an older perspective. Lennox and Walton are some people if you're interested in diving into kind of how evolution and the age of the earth all kind of goes hand in hand. So, species change over time. This is what Darwin saw. There's good old Darwin with his awesome lamb chops. Divergent species share a common ancestor, and then this mechanism that produces a change is natural selection. So prior to Darwin, biologists have slowly begun to accept various ideas of evolution. Okay? And so this is, and some part of my screen's going off the page.
Well, hey, I'm back. Sorry, I had to take a pause and deal with some family stuff. But we were talking about evolution, and let's look at a few things here about similarities. So similarities and dissimilarities. Similarities always in evolution reflect common ancestry. Now, similarities genetically would be the best thing. Like similarities between DNA and genes, and similar like nucleotide sequences or even similar amino acid sequences in a protein, that reflects common ancestry. Dissimilarities, like the more different, of course, genes are genetically speaking, that would mean we're closer to, different lineages, not closer to each other, but different lineages. So, history of evolutionary thought, Linnaeus believed in the fixity of species, careless Linnaeus, binomial nomenclature, each species had an ideal structure and function. He developed the binomial system of genus, species, Homo sapiens, or as Cuvier proposed catastrophism. Some Christians, the flood, pretty catastrophic event, right? And so the result of the catastrophes was change appearing over time. As Cuvier, Lamarck is an interesting story because Lamarck actually proposed inheritance of acquired characteristics. And so with Lamarck, it was like, you had giraffes and they were stretching, right? And the ones that stretched the most inherited a longer neck from living and then passed those genes on. So it's like, well, we can't really do that. But genetically speaking, we've already talked about epigenetics, and it does matter how you live. It does matter what you eat and how you live because those mark DNA. So he wasn't like completely off the mark as far as like how you live affects your DNA. But of course, genetically speaking, it's built upon random choices. Lyell, of course, proposed uniformitarianism. Rates and process of change are constant over time. The Earth is subject to slow meaning like millions and millions and millions of years. This is Lamarck. So each giraffe had short necks. They stretched. The ones that stretched the most passed that the way they lived onto their kids. Okay, so here's Darwin when he was an old man. He wasn't this age when he went on this 5-year journey. But you can see good beard. All right, so some of Darwin's theories of evolution, geological observations, consistent with those of Putnam and Lyell. See, these guys again believed that the Earth was really long. And so biogeography is the study of geographic distribution of life forms. And so Darwin, I would highlight this in your notes. Darwin saw similar species in similar habitats, okay? Similar climates. And so related species could be modified according to what's driving the change, the environment. He saw also the glyptodont, this massive ancestor of armadillos, possibly. Living forms could be descended from extinct forms known only through the fossil record. Darwin also saw, he compared animals where they lived. Instead of rabbits, he found this hare in the grasslands of South America. And so he was wondering various things, why were they adapted to the same type of environment? Both animals ate grass, hid in bushes, moved rapidly. And he was trying to wrestle with where do these species come from? You can see right here these two large birds that are related, both found in South America. Darwin wondered if environmental differences caused modification, right? Differences of traits of these two organisms. And so, of course, one of the best places that he went as far as what he saw and what really helped him form his theory was the Galapagos Islands. This is off Ecuador. It's a beautiful, kind of insane place to visit. Darwin he actually said if hell had a garden, it would resemble this. I mean, he didn't think much of it, but he saw these magnificent tortoises, like Galapagos tortoises, and long neck and big dome and these different finches. And the locals actually helped him understand, like, they could tell what island they were on or from the tortoise. Like Hood Island tortoises had longer necks, space. Pinta kind of had an intermediate shell, and then Isabella had this huge dome shell. And so that really helped Darwin form his theory of, like, well, all these tortoises, if one kind of made it to the islands from the mainland in various ways that could happen, they evolved and adapted to their environments. Not only that, finches. Darwin saw that the beak is a tool, but those tools were specifically adapted to the environment. Many types of finches on various islands, and there was a lot of variety in beaks. And so they could have descended from a type of mainland finch, but then changed through time based upon their environment and the food that they had. Can you see both of them? Well, I'm sure you can. But this is, a great example of evolution as well, the pepper moth story in the Industrial Revolution. White and black. Both varieties existed. But however, the shift during the Industrial Revolution, black soot killed all the lichens on the trees. And so this moth species increased in numbers, and there was a genetic change in the population, a shift in allele combinations or allele frequencies, and that is evolution. It's similar to this. And there's a wonderful video I'll probably show you in class about this done by HHMI, but you can see here population has mice moved to a new area where the rocks are very dark. Due to natural selection, the tan ones are easily seen by predators. And then the ones that survive pass those traits on. You can see how the population gradually changes to the environment. Darwin perceived, so this is called adaptation. Darwin perceived adaptation to the environment and the origin of species as a closely related process. So the finches arose from an ancestral form by the gradual accumulation. Again, we're adapting to our environments. That's one of the biggest, learning objectives in natural selection. Understanding that environments drive selection. So, for example, here, the cactus eater. You can see here, long, sharp beak of the common cactus finch helps it tear and eat cactus flowers and pulp. Then there's a seed eater that needs a large beak for cracking those seeds open. But you can see the insect eater, very different beak, right? And they're tools specifically adapted to the environment that they live in. Okay. Darwin wrote an essay on natural selection as a mechanism of descent with modification, but did not introduce this theory publicly for many different reasons. And so natural selection, again, one more time, is the process in which individuals with favorable inherited traits, again, and this is all about genes, right? Random. Nothing, no purpose, nothing else. This is all due to random chance, mutations in genes, are more likely to survive and reproduce. Again, passing on those traits. And so individuals survive at higher rates than others. As the natural selection increases the frequency of those adaptations and the frequency, of course, of those genes, and then in a given environment. And they may result, sometimes giving rise to new species. And we'll talk about speciation down the road. And so here's, in general, how it flows. Ready? It starts with variation. You need to know this. So it starts with variation. Number one. Members of a population have inheritable variations. Number one starts with variation. More individuals are produced than can survive. Life's hard, right? And so there's competition. So there's a struggle. I would almost write this down. There's a struggle for survival. And so some individuals have adaptive characteristics. They, by chance, are more able to survive and reproduce. And so that's reproductive success. So they have an increased chance of surviving and reproducing. And thus, those pass those adapted traits on, and the species eventually adapts to the environment, and speciation possibly can occur. So struggle for survival, and the other phrase is survival of the fittest. Natural selection. Okay, and so variation in population is required for natural selection to result. How do we have all these different skin colors? Because of natural selection and variation, right? Dark skin colors protected us from the sun. Light skin colors, white skin colors, lighter, protected us from not having enough vitamin D up north. And so all the various skin colors, yes, one race, beautifully created. Jesus was a brown man, beautifully created in God's image, all of us. But our skin is based upon our heritage, where we came from, and the necessity to survive. Darwin emphasized that individuals from a population vary in their functional characteristics, physical characteristics, and behavioral characteristics. He proposed, again, random chance. These variations are random chance. They're essential. You can't have natural selection if we're all genetically the same, and they allow adaptation to happen through time. And so Darwin's theory of evolution involves this term called fitness. Fitness is the relative reproductive success of an individual. The most fit individuals capture a disproportionate share of goodies. That's an interesting phrase. But nonetheless, it's, we outcompete. The fit individuals outcompete. And this doesn't necessarily mean like speed or strength. This could also mean like camouflage. This could also mean like making a certain enzyme that we can eat a certain plant or drink a certain liquid, and we can break it down when others get sick when they do it. And so interactions with the environment determine individuals reproduce the most. Of course, if you're getting most of the resources, you have the most strength to reproduce. It's all about energy, right? And so adaptation, change that helps the species become more suited to the environment. And Darwin understood all this because of artificial selection. All dogs are descended from the gray wolf. About 14,000 years ago, we began domesticating dogs. I don't know, I'm a dog guy. I haven't always have wanted a golden retriever in my life. And we literally bred them specifically for which trait we want, but they all descended from the gray wolf. I mean, Darwin described artificial selection as a model to which to understand natural selection. See, artificial selection is when who's doing the selecting? Well, it's us. It's humans. Natural selection is when the environment is selecting. And so humans, through thousands of years of agriculture, from the wild mustard plant, kohlrabi, kale, cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower. And this is all based upon suppression of flower development, sterility of flowers. Like we mating these plants looking for specific traits. We've done this with so many things. And here's just maybe a better picture of this. Selection for stems, selection for lateral buds, selection for terminal buds, flower clusters, stems and flowers, selection for leaves, kale. And that all came from the ancient ancestor common wild mustard plant. Darwin also bred pigeons, and he recognized similarities between selection and breeders and selection in nature. And so if I were to show you this picture and not have artificial selection up here, and not obviously been talking about for the past couple of minutes, you would think possibly that all these birds were different species. And that's a fair thought. But all these birds over here were bred from the rock pigeon. Look how much genetic diversity is inside of this pigeon just by selecting traits. And so that is artificial selection. Laboratory experiments also demonstrate genetic variation in populations. So selection for certain traits in the fruit fly, Drosophila melanogaster, resulted in new combinations of genes that were not present in the original population. So let's look at this data together. This is just from another textbook I have. Here's the original population, number of abdominal bristles, okay? If you select for low number of bristles, you can see that there's like a complete break now. So what we're selecting for, we're taking fruit flies that have low abdominal bristles, mating them with the same ones that have low, or high and high. And eventually, over time, you can see we have completely changed from the original population. We now have a high number of bristle population here, and a low number of bristle population here. And that is, by definition, because genes are changing, evolution. Natural selection, far more individuals are born than can survive to reproduce. Offspring tend to resemble their parents, but are not identical due to mutations. Meiosis, right? Oh, good old meiosis. Might want to write that down, right? We create genetic variety through which processes, hopefully you remember, crossing over. Oh man, I can't spell it. Processes. Crossing over independent assortment, fertilization, and differences among individuals affect their chances, which increase the frequency of favorable traits in the next generation. So Darwin's natural selection hypothesis was based on observations that he found on the HMS Beagle. Not just the Taurus and the finches, but those are like the elite prime examples. Those are like really the cornerstones of his theory, just because of how dramatic the observations were, how dramatic the differences in the shells were, how dramatic the differences in the beaks were. And so that really helped him cement his theory of natural selection, evolution by natural selection. So, again, we already talked about the beaks and stuff like that. They've actually done a study. I'll probably show you this video. Peter and Rosemary Grant did an amazing study about how natural selection happens in Daphne major. Other observation of natural changes in the shells of marine snails due to hunting by crabs. Change in the beak length of the scarlet honeycreeper due to new food source. Industrial melanism, that's the pepper moth I showed you. Bacterial resistance, we talked about that a lot this year, right? Bacterial resistance. And so here's evolution. So this is what the Grants saw. The beak changed, literally, even in the years, the frequency, due to like dry and wet years. The beak depth literally changed throughout the course of their research. And I'll try to show you this video. It's an amazing video. But what they saw was dry years, of course, certain plants survived. Wet years, certain plants came back. And that literally caused certain birds to have a higher or lower fitness level. So this is evolution part 1. I hope this is helpful to you. I hope you are doing well. Thank you so much for watching, and hope to see you soon. God bless.